Hey there, and welcome to the Do Life Big podcast. This podcast is going to be your jam if you want to live to your full potential and don't believe in half-assing anything in your life. If we want to do life big, that means we've got to get out of our own way because we only have this one shot to make it awesome. I'm your host, Kathy, and I'm a mom of three whose BFF is cold brew, a retired school teacher turned online entrepreneur, and an author. I'm loud, bold, and will always keep it real. I'm determined to live my best freaking life possible, and I'm here to help you do the same. I'll be packing this podcast with tips, motivation, inspiration, and strategies to finally get you where you want to go. And we will have a ton of laughter along the way because, let's be honest, we can't ever take ourselves too seriously, right? I'm so excited you are here with me today. Now let's get this party started. Hey, my friend, what is up? And welcome back to another episode of Do Life Big. I am so excited that you are here listening to today's episode because today we have Scottie Hobbs on the Do Life Big podcast, and this is going to blow your mind, this whole episode. So stay until the very end. He is a father. He's a husband. He actually has 5 children. He's an online entrepreneur. He's generated over $10 million in sales. But what I love about him the most is that he has always kept his family as the most important thing to him while creating this absolutely incredible business. So thanks so much for being on the show today, Scottie.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here. And I just want to say first and foremost, thank you for doing this show, like getting a message out to people, sharing wisdom with others, and just being a light to other people. So I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, it's really funny because, I don't know who's listening, if you guys knew this or not, but back in the day when I used to do Beachbody, right? That's where I first actually heard of Scottie. And I don't even know if I actually told you this story, Scottie, about how, I had just started out on my business. I was a stay-at-home mom. I had the 2 little kids at home at the time in Massachusetts. And I just didn't want to go back to my teaching job. And I just wanted to earn some money to be home. And I was working at my kitchen counter every single night when the kids would go to sleep. And I was doing pretty well. But what really changed it for me was I came across your video on YouTube at the time, the sacrifices video. Do you remember that one?
I do. I recorded that in my cabin and there was a baby screaming in the background.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it. It's so, right? So relatable. But I came across that video and it was that video that changed it for me and helped me go on to, build a 6-figure business in under a year while being a stay-at-home mom. And I don't think if I came across that video, I would have been able to do that, not nearly as quickly. So thank you so much for that super inspiring video. I remember I told everybody about that video when they joined Beachbody. I was like, you have to listen to this video. It's going to change your life.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. But anyway, so thanks for being here today. And why don't we get started and have you just tell everybody, what you do and who you help?
Yeah, so like she said, my name's Scottie Hobbs. I have 5 kids. I have 3 teenage daughters right now. They're 18, one turns 16 tomorrow, and then 13. And then I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old boy. So we're done having babies. But I like to say that I'm a full-time dad and I help people part-time. And my mission is really just to remind people that their families are most important work on earth, help them feel better, and then help them earn more income for their family. And the main reason I have that goal is I had this big goal and dream for my life when I was younger that I just wanted to provide well for my family. I wanted to have a good home. I wanted to have a good job and be able to provide for them and be able to, my dream at the time was just come home from work after a good hard day's work, sit down, eat dinner with the family, go kick soccer balls in the yard and take walks around the neighborhood. And my life didn't look like that. The first 5 years of our marriage, we had the help of Medicare and WIC for some eggs and some food and things like that. And I worked 12-hour days and my wife worked nights. And so when I first started my business, I just really needed to change things for myself. And sometimes I talk to people and they're like, I don't really have a big goal or a big dream or a big ambition when they hear things that I'm talking about that I want to do now in my life. But I'm like, my big dream was to make $10,000 extra. I was willing to do work, be the hard worker, work these 12-hour shifts that I did for 5 years. But I was like, if I could just make an extra $10,000, my wife wouldn't have to work at nights. I wouldn't have to put the kids in in the daycare and with the babysitter a couple hours a day. And to me, that dream would be life changing to me because I could come home from work and see my wife and not like pick the kids up from the babysitter and not see her till 11:30 at night. So that's kind of where I started. And so once I was able to accomplish that for myself, it became more my mission. Like I need to help other parents that there's got to be other people out there that feel like me, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help them and guide them to be able to do that.
Yeah, I love that so much. That's incredible. So, when you like back in the day, if you were to rewind and like look back on your life, even before you got started on, in your online entrepreneur journey, did you always know that you would go down this path? Like, did you do something else? Like, how did that even come about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always knew I was going to do something great with my life. Like I always say that. Like I wanted to be a professional baseball player when I was younger. It was never like I want to be, and they're all noble things. It was never like I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a doctor, and those are all great professions. But I was like, I'm going to be a professional baseball player. And I think it stems from the root of that I was just always inspired by seeing my favorite baseball players and seeing what they did with their lives, and they had a platform to use their gifts and their talents and what they love to inspire others like they were inspiring me. Like I remember like I loved Ricky Henderson. He was the best base stealer in the league. And I played in the Little League World Series, and I won the base running competition at the Little League World Series because I was inspired by him. I like saw what he did. I was striving to be someone like that. So I had dreams like that. And then I played as a musician, and I was like, I want to be a famous musician. But it was once again that thing, like I just wanted to be on a stage and inspire people or move people with my gifts. So I never thought like I'm going to own a business someday or lead others in a business. But there was always that root of like, I want to do something with my gifts and talents and inspire other people. But as I was working those 12-hour days, I started to discover things that I could do to earn extra income. Like I remember my church leader, he owned a network marketing business in my hometown. I didn't know that's what he did, but I knew he had his own business and was very successful. He owned multiple gas stations and car washes, but his root business was he was the CEO of a network marketing company.
Wow.
And so I saw his life. I saw, he got to serve extra time in the church and with the youth and always with his kids. And so like I saw that and I was like, I want something like that. So that's when it kind of started for me of like discovering small ways to earn money. I bought and sold things on Craigslist. Like I opened up a bank account and I would buy Xboxes, fix them up, sell them. I worked in a steel factory, so on my lunch break, like I learned how to run the cutting machines and program them. So I started making custom signs, and I would go out and like I would make a custom sign for somebody for free, and I would put it on Craigslist. I'd give it to my friend and put it on Craigslist and show like I make custom signs, and then people would email me and share their ideas with me, and I would make them for them. So I started doing all kinds of things like that before I found online cells with some workout programs that I loved. So there was always something in me. It needed to come out eventually in some way.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love that. So, where do you think that drive and determination came from? Do you like were your parents ever entrepreneurs? Were they like did they own their own thing, or like where did it come from, you think? You think it was just always within
So
you?
I think it was just in me a little bit. One of my parents, both my mom worked for the school district and my dad fixed copy machines as a service repair tech. And so they didn't own their own business, but my grandpa, my dad's dad, he had his own automobile shop. So he fixed cars. He worked for Ford way back in the day, and then he opened his own shop in his garage. And so when I was in high school, like I would leave for lunch and I would go over to his house, and he would be able to walk in from the garage and eat lunch with me and my grandma. And I'd take a little nap on the couch and I'd head back to school. Like I knew he had more freedom. So that was, I think part of it came from there.
Yeah.
And I remember another specific incident. It has to do with kind of the house I'm building right now, the dream house I'm building. I waited like 15 years to build.
That's
It,
amazing.
I remember going to a high school graduation party, and there was this house that looked kind of like undercover. It was out in the country, lots of trees. It was on a farm, but there's this like modest looking house in the front, but there was like a garage looking thing in the back, like a driveway with some garage doors. And we got invited there by some friends. And I remember going in there, it was like pool tables and ping pong tables and a big like TV with bean bags to watch movies. And then you go down these stairs and there was an indoor basketball court and there was an indoor
Wow.
pool.
That is so cool.
I had like it was the most fun thing about like I didn't know anybody that lived like that. It was only like 3 miles from my house, but I didn't even know anything like that existed. And I never like wanted anything like that, but I just remember like how much fun myself and all of our friends had, like playing basketball and swimming and then watching movies and popping popcorn and just hanging out together.
That's so fun.
And
I
and
know.
so I knew like I wanted to do something bigger kind of at that point too when I was younger. Like, hey, there's something more out there. But I was just graduating from high school, so I didn't know how that path would how it would lead to something like that. But those little things in your life like plant seeds of like what's possible.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I kind of want to.
I know. I love that. Oh, are you frozen? No, no, you're there.
Oh, I'm here. I'm here.
Like you were sitting so still. I'm like, hello?
I am
Can you see
frozen.
me now?
Yeah.
No,
So
I love that. So does your dream house have, is it gonna have a basketball court and like all that stuff in there?
it does. It has a hidden basket. No one can know there's a basketball court in there. It's hidden under the garage. Under
That is so fun.
It's like 20 feet underground. So it has that. It has an indoor saltwater swimming pool and a sauna. It'll
That
be
is so nice. Oh my God. But I love it though, because it's so true. Like, everything that you're doing is all revolved around like you being able to allow for your family to make more memories together. Because honestly, at the end of the day, that's what's most important, really, is the time with the family and making the memories. So I love that. And I love how, you're making it so. I think I saw like a reel or something you did once, not too long ago either. Maybe it was just the other day where you talked about how, like, I don't know, like as the family grows, like everyone has a place to come back to and make
yeah.
memories, something similar. Like, I love that. I'm like, I want to do that one day
It was
too.
like it was like I envision 50 years from now, like sitting on the porch watching the grandkids,
Yeah.
and everybody wants to come visit because they want to be there.
Yes, exactly. I love that so much. That's amazing. They're going to remember it forever. It's so good. So, I mean, we're talking about all this great stuff, right? But we all know that when you own a business and you have a family, there are so many ups and downs to running a business. And a lot of people, honestly, when it gets hard and they hit the struggles, that's when they kind of roll over and say, well, you know what, maybe this isn't meant for me. I think maybe I should just go back to what I knew, or I'm just not cut out for this. So, as you reflect back on your journey being a parent and running your online business over all these years, if you had to pick like one of the most challenging times, one of the biggest struggles that you had to go through and overcome, what would you say that time would be? And how did you overcome it? How did you get through it and come out on the other side?
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Share
There's
whatever you want.
I've been doing this for almost 15 years now. So the first one was really it was about 8 months into building my business. And like I said, I worked 12-hour days. So I would get up at like 4:15, be to work by 5. And I did like three different jobs, even though I was paid for one. And I'd get home, leave work at 5. I'd get home like 5:15. My wife left for work at 3. So she dropped them off at the babysitter. I'd pick them up. So they were the babysitter for like 2 hours a day. But I want you to like imagine this. Like I think women are more powerful or great at being able the endurance to raise kids and have a lack of sleep and feeding babies all night, all that stuff. And men can do those things too, but I think women just have a better gift for that. But I want you to imagine whether you're a woman or a man, what listening to this is like coming home from doing like three people's jobs for 12 hours a day and coming straight home, not to decompress on the couch, but to feed and bathe and change diapers of three little girls, ages 4, 2, and 6 weeks old while your wife's at work, and then get them in bed and then work on a business for 3 hours and then sleep 4 hours and just repeat that.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it was exhausting. But I was doing it because I had this dream of earning, an extra $10,000 because my wife made like 14,000 at that time working for the Hilton Garden Inn, and we paid 3,000 or so in babysitter costs for the whole year. So I was like, if I could just make 10,000, we don't pay the babysitter,
Right.
replaces what she's making. And so like I had that dream, and it pulled me through a lot of days and months of doing that really hard thing of 12-hour days and raising three girls. But I got to a point of exhaustion. And I was
Burnout.
grateful for it because it was like I got the man cold, and all the women will know what that is. It's when your husband nearly dies when he just gets a cold.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
call
you
that
know
the
what that
man
is.
flu.
Yeah, the man flu. So I got the man flu and I missed work for like 3 days. So that's stressful. I'm not getting overtime. I'm missing work,
Yeah.
and I'm sleeping all day long. And my wife's like, hey, if you get up and shower and get dressed, you'll start to feel better. And so I do that, and she's like, "Hey, Kina's gonna get home from the school bus. Like, would you go pick her up?" And so I shower, get dressed, and I start walking down the cul-de-sac to pick her up. The bus always comes to the end. We live in the back of a cul-de-sac, so it pulls up at the end, and the kids get out. And I'm like halfway down the left side of the cul-de-sac, and the bus pulls up, and I hear the like, the sounds like, and the
Yeah.
bus doors open, and they fling open, and I see these two hands of this little girl grab the handrail, and she looks up and sees me and just smiles.
Oh,
It breaks me down.
yeah.
And for a couple of reasons. Like the main one is like I realized like, man, how many of these moments have I missed? Like when I saw that smile. And I think the bigger question was like, how many more of these moments will I continue to miss if I don't push through this pain, push through
Mm,
this dip of where I'm at? Because I was at a point in my business where I was like making a few $100s extra a week, which would replace my wife's income. Like she could have probably walked away from her job at that point. So in my mind, my mind's playing these tricks to me like, hey, you don't need to do anymore. Like you don't need
right.
to sit down 5 or 6, 7 days a week and build this business 3 hours a night. You could just kind of casually do it now. You've got to the point where she can come home. You're making enough for her. And so it was kind of at a point like I was kind of giving up, not giving
Yeah.
up, like gonna pull off the gas a little bit.
Yeah. You were like, okay, we're comfortable, right?
Yeah, I'm comfortable. It's enough. She could come home.
Yeah.
But I realized in that moment, like, I didn't want to miss any more moments like that one. And so it was that moment where, have you heard the saying, it's like the two greatest days in your life are the day that you're born and the day you figure out why?
Yes, exactly. I love that.
For me, that was it. It was like I'm here, like I'm going. It's that day I realized I made the decision, I guess it would be, that I'm going to build this to replace my income as well, and I'm going to do the work that I was doing full time. Like I'm not going to clock in. I'm not going to ask for days off to go to Donuts with Daddy or go to any of their future sports,
Yeah.
dance, eating stuff. And I made that decision, but I realized also like if I could do that then I could if this guy could do it, like you guys might see me today 15 years later, but if this guy could do it, the college dropout that, gave up when baseball got hard, gave up when playing music got hard, like if this habitual quitter from the past could overcome these things and build a business, like literally anybody could do it. So it became that's where it became my mission at this point of I will make this my full-time career. I'll be present with my wife and kids. That'll be my main focus. And then I have the power to, if I can do that, I can teach, mentor, train, be a role model to anyone else that has that desire as well.
I love that. Well, you
That
do
was
it really
the
well.
biggest shift. Well,
What'd you
thank
say?
you. That was like the biggest shift in my life to go
Yeah.
through a hard point.
I know. It's so crazy. Now, the your two little kids that were getting off the bus then, like how old are they now?
So 18 and 16.
Oh, 18, 16. I know. I can't even like when I look back at, how little the kids were when I first started business, like when I think back to like Landon being literally only 2 and Kirsten was 6 months old and I didn't even have Keegan and how, I just day in and day out kept, showing up every day so that I could be there and not miss those moments. And now here I am all these years later with a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and they're all in school. I'm like, I would have missed it all
Yeah.
if I had given up. I don't even like to talk about it because I'll start crying. I'll be like, oh, take me back to those times when they were little.
Yeah, you made me think of something. I had this mentor named Craig, and I remember him telling a story about he was in a direct sales business and built like a 7-figure business. And he talked about it was never really about the money. It wasn't about nice houses or any of these things.
Yeah.
I that inspired me. He told the story once how when his son was born, he would have him wrapped up like a little burrito, and he was just at home holding his son. And I was like, I want that. And
Yeah.
one of the biggest blessings I think about too is like, I don't believe we'd have our 2 sons had I not pushed through and built this business because we would have never been able to afford having more kids.
Oh, I
We
know.
would have
Kids are
been
expensive.
like, this is enough. And
Is
then
this
so
enough?
so that's a huge blessing in and of itself.
I know it's such a blessing. And time goes so fast, and it's like they always say there's a lot of things in life that you can get back, but the one thing you can never get back is time, right? So I always try to remind myself that on the days when it gets hard, when the days when I struggle, because everybody struggles, let's just face it. Even when things are great, there's always going to be times where you kind of get in your own head. So when you think back, or maybe even if it's been recently, I know, with Beachbody, was that your main source of income that you
Yeah,
had
so that
going?
was my main source of income for 14 years. I worked full
Okay.
time doing that. And I retired my parents 10 years ago. So it provided for myself, my five kids, my wife, and my parents.
Wow.
So it was a big thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, what the heck is happening here? But I loved you were writing in when I was asking you information about like just like you talked about Beachbody and you talked about how when that ended, how you were still able to like be happy and have gratitude and be thankful and really love yourself. And how were you able to do that with something so like people would say like catastrophic? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody looks at things differently. How are you able to have that mindset around it? Or maybe how did you grow yourself from not having that mindset to then having that mindset? Like, what did you have to go through? That's a pretty loaded question.
Yeah. You got 5 hours?
Yeah, we can totally do 5 hours.
Yeah.
I love doing
So
this.
first of all, like it was devastating to me, like honestly. But I'll tell you, I don't think I've shared this, but the first thing that I did, I was with my mom, took her to lunch. Her birthday was the day before. So we were at lunch, and one of my goals when I'm with family members, I try to be 100% present. So I put my phone away. But I'm paying the bill. When I pay the bill, I have my card in the back. So I pull it out and I have like so many notifications. I'm like, what is this? I don't even have that many.
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious. So, I started looking at it. It was like, what's going on? What does this mean? All of these questions, right? And so I'm like, I don't know. So I stay with my mom. I get home and I'm like, I got to figure this out. And they're like, did you see the thing? And so I put my AirPods in and I went for a walk and I listened to it. And like, I was just like, this isn't real. Like, this is like kind of like a shock.
Oh,
Because
yeah, totally. Denial.
you're earning this amount of money that you've been earning and you built for the longest time. Because I had a team that sold 1.5 million in product a week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then that call was basically saying we're taking all of that away from you, and I'm like, what? But
I
the first thing
know.
I did when I got home from that, my 12-year-old son was in the front yard with a football and wanted to play, and so I just played. I just like was present, and I think that's one of the biggest things. Like we're all gonna have ups and downs and challenges in life, but everything is figure outable. I've learned that over the course of my life. And also the most important things in your life are like your relationship with God, your health, and your family.
Right.
And you see people all over the world, like in California right now, losing their homes to fire, like it happened to a lot of my friends in Maui. Like you
Oh,
can lose everything. Like I lost a job. That's nothing
right.
compared
You
to
can get a new one.
losing someone in an accident.
Right.
And so a lot of times I think perspective is a huge thing that helps me is always having some sort of perspective. And that's not even where I was going to go with this really, but it was just having perspective. Like I have health, I have kids, I'm at home right now and I'm not at a job. And then Gabby and I, my wife and I, just communication and having conversation and not keeping it inside, just talking about everything. One of the first things that we said is like, okay, this sucks really bad. But if we knew everything that we know and have experienced and knew this was going to happen, would we have still done that for the past 14 and a half years? And we're like, absolutely. I would have rather done nothing else like than be home present with my kids and help people feel healthier and help a lot of families earn more for earn more for their families. So just being grateful for everything that we had and experienced was one of the biggest things. So expressing gratitude will always help through some of the most challenging things. That was a huge thing. There's a big lesson I really want to talk about here is like I was devastated. Like for 2 days, like in 2 days that isn't that long, but I was
Right.
like broken in a way. Like my
I
kids
know.
saw me on the bench at the end of my bed just bawling. Like 15 years of building something just ripped away.
I know.
Like my teenage daughters that sometimes don't hug you as long as you'd like. It's like a side hug. Were like holding on to me and like
Aw.
dad. And so it was like a good moment, like family wise, to connect and all of that stuff. For me, one of the main reasons, like there's a few steps where I was like, okay, I have to stand up and keep going. I was like, this is like my job in life is to be a role model. And who better to be a role model to than my wife and kids? Because I could sit around and mope for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, feel sorry for myself. I mean, we'd been really good stewards of everything that we'd earned over time. Like I had conversations with great mentors like, Scottie, you could take off a whole year and go do service trips and you're still gonna be okay with the way that
Yeah.
you've stewarded your money and all of that. And I was like, yeah, but I love helping people, so I got to figure out what I'm gonna do next. But I think one of the biggest things was like my kids need to see me get knocked down and show them that you can get back up and fight. Like it's not over when something bad happens. So that was a big thing for me. One of the biggest lessons that I learned through that transition, though, was like I said, we'd been such good stewards, and I'm gonna encourage anyone here building a business to like pay your tithing, like do good with like 10% of your money, be willing to, God gives you everything that you have, so give back in
Yep.
some way. Pay yourself first by like investing in, your retirement accounts or saving. And I got taught that by my parents, by the way. I had a little box growing up. It had savings, tithing, and like spending.
Oh, I love that.
And I was taught 10% to savings, 40% to, or 10% to tithing, 40% to savings, and 50% was for you. So over 15 years of building a seven-figure business, we still practice that. So we probably only spent 30% of our income on fun, like vacations and travel and doing great things. And 70% was tithing and investing and taxes, obviously. So,
Yeah.
um, but I learned those things, and so we had invested in real estate, and I'm kind of different in the way that I do real estate. Like I'd buy a property and I would just put everything I earned, like we lived like we did when we were poor,
Yeah.
and I put everything that we earned into paying off those homes. So we had when that all happened to us, we had four homes paid off. So it's like I had
That's
to also
amazing.
realize such an incredible blessing that we've been such good stewards, like that we're not in a place where I'd have to compromise my integrity or do something out of line with my integrity to try
Yeah.
to make money for my family or go against what my vision was of being present with my family, like go have to get a job. Like I could build something at the pace that I needed to and still be present. But here's the thing, so something about us, like we would buy these vacation rental homes. We have a beautiful home. I'm in it right now. We've lived here since my oldest was 3 months old. So it's our starter home, but it's a
Oh,
beautiful starter home. And so we're still here. But we bought these beautiful properties, like a lake house by Yellowstone, one down in
wow.
St. George. They have like slides off the back decks, fireplace terraces on the roof, and like for all these beautiful things, right? And our house is beautiful, but we had like a swamp cooler in our house because we lived minimal here. That like instead of putting AC in, it like blows our paper plates off from Domino's the table. Everybody's got to hold their plates when we turn it on.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
and so we've lived like that and really built a great investment portfolio with rental properties and contribute to our SEP IRA account, every single year, maxing that out. So all of these great things. So finally, the crazy thing is finally 2 years ago, we're like, we're going to do something for us. We just started building our fifth vacation rental, and then
Wow.
this riverfront property came for sale. And we're like, we bought it the next day. My wife was like, let's buy it. And like, I'm someone that when something's decided, I like just take action. So we start designing house plan. I'd had this dream of what I wanted eventually. And so we start putting the plan together, start building it. And it's an extravagant project. And we're building a $1.9 million house in Park City at the same time.
Wow.
So
That's wow.
when Beachbody came, or when that happened, like that was the shock, is I am building two multi-million dollar homes at the same time.
Right. Like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah. So our conversations with Gabby are like, okay, our rentals are paid for. They bring in income. Like even though that income from our online business is gone, like we could keep the girls in dance. We can buy food. This home we're living is paid for. Like we can just like use the income from those rental properties and keep ourselves fed, keep the lights on, keep the
Right.
kids in their sports and just kind of chill out. So we're like, we're okay, right? And then we made this decision. We're like, okay, we're gonna sell this vacation rental in Park City when it's built. It's being built right now, but we'll sell that. We got a few hundred thousand into the down payment of that, and it's worth probably 200 or 300 more than we paid for. So we could take that out. We can sell our dream home build. I was like, I got $1 million into that in cash. Like we could just sell it. So the first 2 days was me really talking to our builder, the bank. Can we sell this? Like halfway through the project, and so really came to peace with like we're gonna sell our dream home. We're gonna sell that house. We're gonna bring all that cash in, and like we could really just live and
Yeah.
just be present and not do anything,
Right.
raise
And
kids,
how
and
old are you right now?
I'm 43.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So
so I'm like,
young.
yeah, so I'm like, we could, we have a great SEP IRA retirement account I could take out penalty free in 15 years. I can bring out all that money from those two houses if we sold them, and we could just live off. We could have 100,000 a year for the next 18 years and just chill. And so
Yeah.
we kind of came to peace. That's what we're gonna do. And and so, but I'll tell you what, I go see the dream house every single day. Like I go check the progress. I call it touching the dream.
Oh, I
And
love it.
after we made the decision we're gonna sell it, the kids were all okay with it. My 9-year-old was like, my basketball court. And I was like, I'll
Oh,
put a shed in the backyard, put a heater in it, and we'll put a hoop in there. Like
right.
we'll do something different for you. And so we went and walked through it. My heart, I felt like a sword was through my heart because I visualized
Oh,
it for like 15 years. I walked through it, the land before the foundation even started, and just visualized it. So it
oh,
was like, heartbreaking, but like I'd come to peace with it, and I was okay with it. Well, we go on this last free earned trip for our former company, and we didn't go to any of the events there. It was just a time for me and my wife. It was kind of like a blessing. That all happened on Monday, and we left on Saturday on that cruise.
wow. I was wondering if you went on that. Yeah, I was thinking
We
of
went, we
everybody.
didn't go to anything other than we just hung out with each other
Yeah.
and some other thing. I started launching another business, and I work 12 hours a day on the cruise because I'm a worker. So I have this habit, and I want everybody here to adopt this habit to your life. Like every single day, it's a full page. I write out a vision of my life.
I
Like
love
what I
that.
want life to look like. It involves like we live in our dream house on the river that's completely debt free. I write out, I see my kids getting married in the backyard, walking them down the aisle, and huge
Oh,
receptions in the RV garage and parties. And like I write this all out, and I do work from home. Like I'm just sharing some of it with you.
every
Like I
day
do
you do this
every day, every morning.
and you handwrite it. You don't type it. You handwrite
Handwrite it. It's in a notebook. I got multiple notebooks like this that are just handwritten.
it.
And
I
so
love
I've
it.
been doing that for the longest time. And then I write out specific goals, like I earn X amount, I do this, we do this, I help X amount of people do this, right? And so I was confused. I was conflicted because like I'd been visualizing that. And then I came to peace, like we're gonna sell it and we're just gonna stay here. And that's I'm okay with that. We love this home, it's beautiful and it's paid for. But I was like conflicted because I'm like, but what about the thing I've been visualizing? Like everything I've written out and visualized for the past 15 years has come to life. Like, why not this one? And so I was
Yeah.
like conflicted in my mind. And because I write it out every single day and I visualize it when I'm in the shower, I visualize it like I like speak to myself like a weirdo in the gym. I'm like abundance of income and love and health, and I'm an elite athlete. Like I say these things to myself. And so it was the second night on the cruise that I had a dream. And we were sitting on the back. I've walked through the house for 2 years. I designed the house. And so like it looks exactly like it's supposed to when it's finished. And Gabby and I were on some rocking chairs on the back deck. And we see kids like running around and playing in the backyard. They're not my kids, they're grandkids. And I'd never visualized that before.
Oh my
I'd only
God.
visualized seeing my kids get married and me shooting hoops with them, swimming with them on a Sunday morning before church when it's January and negative 10 degrees.
Oh
So
my God. Cold
I had
plunge.
this dream and I'm like, I wake up from it and it's pitch dark because we're in the interior room on the cruise ship and my wife's asleep and I'm doing my morning routine. So I get up and I always sit in the dark and I pray and then I visualize a little bit and then I walk out and I read my scriptures and I write out my goals and vision. And I'm just like praying, like, what does this dream mean? Like, I felt very clearly in my heart, like I wanted to make sure that you were willing to let go of everything and still be happy. But I gave you that dream to let you know that it's still alive. And
Wow.
so
That
that
gave me
was,
the chills. That is
yeah.
crazy.
And so like we truly had come to peace. Like we're going to sell the dream home, this fifth vacation rental in Park City that we've been really excited about. And we were just really at peace with that. Like I'm like, I can just like be a coach for the kids and train my kids and just be at home and present and live off of everything we built for 15 years so wisely. But that was the moment where it's like, no, it's not over for you, that dream. It's like I wanted to test you to see if you could let any material things go and if you were
Wow.
willing to yeah. So the
That
dream
is seriously crazy.
I called my builder because he had put everything on pause because
On
he
the
was getting
cruise? Did you call him on the cruise?
yeah, because I had the internet plan because I was working on my new business. But I told him like I was like just send it. I was like we're gonna figure it out. and just keep building because he had paused it because he wanted to figure out all the numbers. He didn't want to, he wanted to figure out who was owed what, get me all the numbers so I could see if we could sell it to someone else and all that stuff. So I was like, nope, send it. We're going.
That is awesome. Oh my God. So now when is it going to be done being built?
It'll be done in May. The
Oh,
flooring is
really?
oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so soon.
Yeah, so
And then you guys will just move in there. Are you going to rent out the house that you're living in now?
yeah, we're just Airbnb this house. We want to keep it because you know how the housing market is in the world. Like, I don't know how my kids are ever going to any kid is going to ever buy a house.
I think about that all the time. I'm like, how are our kids ever, or any
Yeah.
child, going to be able to buy a house?
Yeah. So we're keeping this one we'll Airbnb it and then one of our kids can inherit it or buy it from us or something.
Yeah. So all your homes that you Airbnb, they're all local to you?
No, so we actually sold one of them. We sold our first property ever
Oh, wow.
to help me in the launch of our business to help cover. And so we sold one of them that was in Salt Lake Valley near some ski resorts.
Okay.
Yeah, so we sold that and it was paid for. So I have that to live off in and finish building out our house and then while I build my new business.
That's
And
super
then we
exciting.
have one up by West Yellowstone National Park. We have one down in St. George and then building the one in Park City, but we'll sell that one. And then this house we're in right now will be converted into one.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I think real estate's the way to go.
A lot of great
Definitely,
options.
definitely helps out. That is a crazy story though, with like the dream and everything on the cruise,
Yeah.
I mean, that is craziness. So, what do you think now? What piece of advice would you give to someone who maybe is in that situation where they are really struggling? And you know how it is when it gets to that point where you're like, should I just give up? Should I keep going? Why should I keep going? This is really hard for me. Like, what piece of advice would you give to that person who's kind of in the thick of it right now?
Yeah. There's so many there too. I have a good friend. He has this whole brand. It's called Adversity Builds Character.
Okay.
And so it's just like realizing that in life it's going to be hard. Like we're here to be tested. Like that's our whole purpose here on earth. Like Satan's plan was for us to just come here and everybody just does whatever they want and they get eternal life. No testing, no trials, everything's smooth and then you get this beautiful life. So we're meant to be tested here in life. Like
Yeah.
that's it. So it's not seeing that knowing that everyone has those obstacles or are going to face challenges and then just saying instead of saying like why me say like okay, what can I learn from this or what can I learn from this or how can I overcome this so I can help somebody else overcome that in the future would be a huge thing. Like some of the most influential people I look at, like I'm very emotional, so when I go to a funeral like I cry more than the actual family members
Yeah.
of people that passed. I cry more at the funeral than the spouse of someone that lost a spouse.
Yeah. Because you really
I
feel it.
imagine like nights of that as well.
Yeah.
But some of the people I look up to the most are people that have lost their one I'm thinking about right now lost his son to an aneurysm.
Oh,
And
that's so sad.
when he was at the junior high school, and it's just like I think like I don't know how I would make it over something like that. And so when something like losing your business happens, or like for me, I got critics, anti multi-level marketing people like putting 2-hour videos up of me on YouTube.
I know.
And
Like, don't get a life.
yeah, like so I
I
don't
feel
even
bad for
respond to
those
them. I don't
people.
even watch them. But people tell me like, "Have you seen this?" I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy. They must think I'm awesome or something to spend that much time."
I know.
No, it's even
All you
that.
can do is pray for those people because that's a sad life to be living.
Yeah. But when there's any kind of obstacle, like because I know some people might have a sibling that's like, why would you do something like that? That type of thing doesn't work, or who do you think that you are to be able to build something like that? I mean, that's a loved one. You'd have complete strangers, loved ones, and so many people just quit at that.
Yeah.
And it, I think it's important. Like for me, I'm like, I'm going to show you. Like
Exactly.
I'm
That's how I was.
like I'm going to show you, but that's not a motivator long term.
Right.
It a true if you want to have long-term success in something, you have to be motivated by love and service for
Mm,
others. So whenever there's an obstacle, I always think like, what can I learn from this? How can I become a role model? Like, how can I overcome this, be a role model, and help somebody else through something in the future?
yeah.
So I think
Oh,
that's
that's so good.
thing.
That's so good. I know.
Perspective.
What did you say? Sorry.
And perspective.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this goes back to around the school bus time. I had a perspective moment too, because I was in a couple of months of that lingo of like, I should just like back off. Like, I'm not going to block out 3 hours a night anymore. I'm just going to if someone asks me for some workout plans or some
Yeah.
supplements, I'll send it to them, but I'm not going to sit down every day and do my checklist that I created. But I remember just feeling overwhelmed one day, and I walked out the back of the shop. There was about 100 employees there, and I knew like every one of them because I worked in three different departments. So everybody, I knew everybody. I'd been there for 5 years. I worked with all of them individually, and so like I'm like exhausted, kind of like in tears a little bit. So like it's in the winter. I put my hoodie on, and I remember walking through the outside of the shop all the way out to the back fence where they stacked metal, and I was just like in tears, just like, what do I do? Like, this is like exhausting. Like, I don't know how I can keep pushing through this. And I remember I called a mentor, I called a friend. And so that's a good piece of advice too. When you're feeling, don't internalize everything, talk to somebody that can help give you perspective and walk through. And I remember talking to this mentor of mine, and she's like, do you feel like you're drowning? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I want you to imagine in your head, I'm a visualizer person. She's like, I want you to imagine that you fall into this water and you're sinking and the light is like disappearing above you. You're dropping into this deep water that's dark. And she's like, okay, imagine you're sinking and the light's like slowly closing in above you. Like, how do you feel? And I was like, a lot of pressure on my chest. Like, I'm tired. Like, I'm exhausted. I'm scared. All of these feelings, right? And she's like, okay. And she's like, is that how you feel right now? Because I told her like I was outside, I was like, I feel like that. And she's like, I want you to imagine this hand like reaches through the water and it breaks the surface of the water. The light comes through. You look up at it and you reach up and grab that hand. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like visualizing this. She's like, you got it? And I'm like, yep. She's like, the hand's pulling you up and you break free of the water and take that first breath. She's like, how does that feel? And I'm like, I feel free. Like I feel liberated. And she's like, that's this opportunity you have in your hands right now. She's like, do not let go of it. She's like, it will completely change your life. So I
Wow.
know it's hard right now, but this will save your life. If you just lean into everything that it has, the community, the personal growth, the health and exercise part of it, the income that you can earn for your family, the feeling of service and contribution you can get by helping others, and the self-esteem you'll build with that. She's like, it will save your life. And so I felt that, and then I remember walking back through the shop with just these new eyes that I'd never seen through before. And they're all my friends, and I still talk with a lot of them to these days. And actually, the owner that gave me that job in high school and in college, we're built. His house is right across from my dream house. We built on the same piece on the riverfront.
No way. That is so
So yeah,
cool.
that's cool. We went. He was my church leader growing up and my boss when I worked there. So
What are the
like I'm
chances
still
of
really
that?
good with a lot of these people. But I remember walking through and I just remember looking at those that had been there a long time that I aspired to get to where they were at. Like the head engineer, the head foreman, the top paid welder, and all of these people. I looked at them and I just realized like I don't want their life.
Yeah.
Like they're great people, but it's not my dream. It's not my goal to, a lot of them have been there, from high school and they were 50 years old and they've been in a factory for 10 to 12 years. They all have the same habits of chewing tobacco and drinking and working long hours. And I was like, I don't want that. That's not what I want my life to look like when I'm 55. And I was only 29 at that time.
Wow.
And I was like, and I looked at my mentor in my online business, and I was like, I want that life. Home with her kids, inspiring people, growing her income every year, going on reward trips. Like, I want that. And so it was that moment, like it was perspective. I was like, my ladder is leaning against the wrong wall.
Hmm.
I can keep climbing this 12 hours a day and get to that end destination that I don't actually want. So
Right.
I need to adjust where I'm putting my energy. And you saw my sacrifices video. I don't think I talked about this in that sacrifices video, but I made a huge sacrifice. I went in to my former church leader, the boss, and said, I can't work 12-hour days anymore.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that wasn't in the video.
Yeah. I was like, I can't work 12-hour days anymore. I was like, and it was a great conversation. I was like, I was like, I'm paid to be the technical writer. I write the service manuals, but as you know, right now, I'm helping in the shipping department. I'm taking service calls. So I'm running the service department, half running the shipping department, and writing my manuals. And he's like, "Are you leaving for that Beachbody thing?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I'm not going to quit doing that. I'm not going to quit doing that because I love doing that, but I can't work 12-hour days and do that and be present with Gabby and the kids."
Right.
And so like I'll work the hardest 8-hour shift that I can, writing the very best manuals you ever have, but I need to get more sleep. Like I'm gonna come in at from 8 to 5 like everybody else. I'm not coming in at 5. I'll do that. And he was okay with that. But what I share with you is that was a huge sacrifice too of like having some perspective. Where do I want to actually put my energy towards what kind of life I want to live? But also was a sacrifice of cutting off my potential growth in that company.
Yeah.
Being like, hey, I'm not going to be that overachiever guy that I've been for 5 years that does more than everybody else.
Yeah, that must have been hard.
Yeah, so it was a sacrifice, but sometimes making those types of choices and decisions propel you and give you the energy to go to the next thing.
I know, it's so good. So true though. And I feel like too, I especially feel like when you're starting something new,
Yeah,
you kind of have to have no plan B almost. Like you have to go all in on this one thing to give it everything you got, like, build one bridge before you build another kind of thing.
yeah,
So I mean, who knows where you would have been if you didn't say that? You could have probably burnt out laying on the side of a street.
yeah. You never know. So, and as I launch my new business, like I'm the same, like this is my own, like it's actually this notebook right here. I wrote out like the different things that I could do,
Yeah.
get high performance certified and teach, high performance habits because I've been a student of that for 14 years.
Yeah.
I wrote all these things that I can do to earn money. Like when I was first like, okay, what am I going to do now? Now that I don't have that income coming in. And I wrote all of those things out and I had a phone call with the founder of a company because I had him on my podcast and I'd met him before previously. And I was like, I'm not going to do direct sales anymore. Like I'd made that decision kind of in my head. I was like, kind of like, I've never been divorced, but I'd imagine what it's like if someone gets divorced, they're like, I'm never getting married again.
Right,
Like
right,
that was
right.
my initial response. And like he's like, yeah, you could go be the best real estate agent. Like you have all this sales ability. You could lead a sales team in real estate or whatever. He's like, you could do that. You could become a paid speaker. You could be a high performance coach for elite athletes or for business owners, and you will do really well. He's like, but you have 15 years of great experience and you're a master at what you do in building and training teams in sales and building that community. He's like, I think you'd be wasting your talent if you did something else. And so he got me to like 40%,
Yep.
like, I'm going to do this again, or 70%, I would say. And then Gabby and I went for a walk and we talked about the pros and cons. And that's where we had the conversation of like, if we knew what we knew now, would we do it again? And it was like a resounding, like, yes, we would do it again. And then I went to my mom and dad's because I asked my dad for a blessing, like to pray over us and to talk through things. And I was giving him the pros and cons that Gabby and I went through of should I do something like this again? And he just looked at me after he did the prayer and he's like, you have to do this. Like after we gave the pros and cons, he's like, you changed our life. Like we've been exercising for over 10 years. We're healthier because of you.
Aw.
He, I love seeing you on your Instagram stories in the morning saying, good morning, my beautiful people. He's like, I feel like you're just talking to me. And he's like, I
Oh,
love seeing that. He's like, I've seen you just become a completely different person. And he's like, you have to do this type of work. And I believe in that company, like because I'd shared with them everything about it, and
yeah.
I believe it's a great fit for you to help continue on your mission, which is helping people feel better, helping remind people their families are the most important worker on earth, help them feel better, and help them earn more income for their family. And Matt checked all those boxes, and he's like, you should do it. And that's when I started again. And when you said you kind of have to put all your eggs in a basket and be like kind of all in, from that moment it was like all in. It was like I was
Yeah.
like 12, 14 hours a day just working on learning everything that I possibly could so that I could teach others and going. Like when we were on that cruise, that was on Thursday, like all day Friday, I'm working. We leave on the cruise Saturday. just to show you, like, to be successful in something, you have to like create momentum. You have to work hard. Like we're on a cruise. Like I could have easily been like, I think this is important to drill into this because people want to build something.
It's true.
And so we go on the cruise and just having open communication with Gabby. She knew what I was going to be focused on for the next steps. And so like I would still get up at 6, do my visual, do my whole morning routine. I worked for like 2 hours. I hit the gym. I worked for like 2 hours. She's on the cruise, so she'd sleep in till like 9:30.
So
I'd
nice.
I'd come and then we would go to breakfast together. We'd go walk around the ship. We'd come back and then she'd read her book and do her exercise, and I would work another 2 to 3 hours sitting on my bed in the cruise room when I could have been doing everything else. And then I'd take her out, we'd get dressed, take her out to dinner, go to like, the a couple of the shows that they have on cruise ships. We would come in at 9:30 or 10, and I would work till like 1 in the morning. So I literally worked like 10 hours a day to launch and build that thing. And a lot of people had been launching and working on that business for 4 months or so. And I didn't even know this, but because of that extra effort of like, I'm all in, gonna build this thing, I ended up number 7 in the entire company and launch sales. But
Wow,
it
that's
didn't come by
congrats.
just magically being like, I'm Scottie Hobbs. Like it
Right.
was working. It was like inviting, voice texting, calling, sending invites, and training people without ever earning. There was no income coming in. It was just putting in all of that work.
How cool to be able to do that on a cruise ship. Like I swear, I always tell everybody like having an online business is like I believe like the best business in the world. It's like the most exponential growth. You could do it from anywhere. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's incredible.
It is. I know. I'm so glad you figured it out. You had that dream.
Well, thank you.
Now, did you ever get, I just have a couple more questions here before we wrap it up, but I know you always talk about how, your family is the most important thing to you. But did you ever go through a phase, like considering like where you started, like, ground zero, no income, where you were earning a significant amount of money and you started to feel really attached to your business, like the business wasn't going to continue to grow or expand unless like you were working on all the time, like a position where you started to maybe choose work over family. Did you ever struggle with that, or were you just always
Yeah.
very clear on like, no, this is when I'm doing business, this is when I'm doing family stuff?
This might be the most important part of the call. So
This is where it gets good, guys.
this is where it gets good. So I've never felt attached like I got to be there or I'm not going to make income. Like I honestly built a business that it would continue to do a 1.5 million in sales a week, whether I sold a product to a customer myself or recruited someone or not. Like we built a lot of incredible leaders, so it would build. But I'm somebody who likes to create, like work hard. Like when I worked 12-hour days at the factory, like they didn't ask me to do that. I'm like, what can we do to help improve things around here? And I would just do them. So I feel a great sense of satisfaction in working hard and building or creating things. And so that can take away from family time because I can get really excited about something and want to work a lot on certain projects and whatnot. In the very beginning, we had to learn communication. I have a very strong Latina Gemini wife, so she keeps me in line. Her like a great book to read is called The Five Love Languages. Mine is words of affirmation and personal touch. So my wife could literally just like rub my head for a second and just say, "You're doing awesome." And like that's all I need. Just like 10 seconds of that in a day, and like I'm fired up to work another 12 hours and create and build. My wife is love language and service. So she needs me like helping cook dinners, getting the kids off to school, cooking, like doing service around the house, and quality time, which is sitting down with her, watching her favorite show, letting her show me her TikToks, massaging her feet, all of the things, right? So in the beginning, I was so excited about my business. I would sit, she worked at nights, and so she'd have like 1 or 2 nights off a week. So on those nights, we'd watch a movie together. And so I would work, instead of working 4 hours on my business, I'd work like an hour and a half, and then I'd watch a 2 hour movie with her. But I would be sitting there with my phone like this, holding her hand and answering messages on my DMs. So I had to get that under control, learn to be be where you are, which is like when I'm with her to be with her, put my phone away, put work away. So I had to learn that. That took some time. And luckily I had a great spouse to like call that out and not just let it like eat her up on the inside or be annoyed by it.
Right.
Just have that open communication. So I had to learn all of those things through time, and I still have to be reminded sometimes to this day. But the biggest thing, that mission really didn't. I started building my business in 2011. That mission of making your family your most important work on earth didn't really start until about 2016, 2017.
Oh,
And we
okay.
don't go into all of the details about that, but we got separated.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I had a seven-figure year of business. I don't know if you knew this, but we met at Warped Tour. I was a musician,
Okay.
and so I was playing music. So I would go to band practice every Thursday night. I had a seven-figure business. I have a wife and kids, all their activities. We're playing in local bars on the weekend, sometimes bigger shows at the fairgrounds, a couple
Wow.
times a year. And I loved doing that. I loved performing. Like I got to play with my favorite bands like Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, Hawthorne Heights, Powerman 5000. I got to play with all of my favorites.
That's so
And so I
cool.
love that, but it took me away from the home on Thursday nights. It put me in not great environments with lots of drinking and just, the bar
Oh
scene.
yeah. The whole scene.
And I'm a family man, so and playing music. So we got separated because I was not giving as much attention to her. I'm building a business and then at band on Thursdays, playing shows on the weekends, and she's taking care of all the kids and
Yeah.
it's all by herself. And so I thought I lost her forever. That was way worse than when I lost my business. That
Oh
was
my
days
God.
and days of crying on the bathroom floor and
Oh,
I gotta like, how do we fix this? I don't want to be like swapping kids in the parking lot with some stranger.
I know that sucks.
Yeah, all that stuff. And so when we worked really hard to rebuild that. She was back home with her parents for like 2 weeks, and I thought she was never going to come back. So that was hard. I had all five kids here building my business. I quit playing music and playing in a band, and that's when I stopped playing music, and so I could be home more. And then we just really started working on it, and it was like we made a decision to go on a date every week to like rebuild our relationship. Those dates sucked for like 3 years. Like
Really?
I remember one
For three
specifically.
years, they sucked?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
trying to build a great relationship again. And I remember one time someone's like, "What are you guys doing?" Like the hostess, and I'm like, "We're on a date," and she's like, "Oh, we're just." It was like kind of like blown off. Like I don't hardly know this guy. I was like, and, and so we worked really hard on it, and we still to this day go on a date every Thursday. We call it Thursdays, but now they're the most amazing, beautiful things ever.
But it took 3 years to get there, huh?
Yeah. And
Wow.
so that's kind of where my mission of your family is your most important work on earth. So when I'm mentoring someone and building a business, like if they're like, "Oh, sorry, I can't be on that really important training call or to that event." Like before, it's like you have to get to the event. If you want to
Right.
10x your business by next year, you have to sacrifice and you have to get there. Now
Right.
it's like they're like, "Oh, my wife has to be at my daughter's thing and I really need to be there to help with other kids." I'm like, that's exactly where you're supposed to be. By doing that, you're going to be more successful
Yep.
long term in building a business. So it really shifted everything in the way that I mentor and teach people. And yeah, so
Oh.
we do a date every Thursday. Highly encourage people to set whether it's once a month or we do once a week.
Yeah, we
To
do
set,
once a week too.
yeah, beautiful thing. So do that, and then I have a hobby. Like I play some video games with some friends, but I have to do a specific amount of time and the guys are like, come on, one more, and I'm like, nope, because every day from 12, like 10:30 to midnight or 12:30 I sit with my wife and we read books. She reads together, she reads to me, and I massage her feet and I do whatever she wants me to do with her for quality time.
Oh, that's so
So
nice.
just making sure your family is your most important work.
Yeah, I love that so much. Well, we're going to wrap this up. I have one
Yeah,
last question, and I'll make sure that we put everything in the show notes too. First of all, what is the name of your podcast?
mine's called the Level Up Life.
Well, the Level Up Life. Okay, I love that. So we'll have that in the show notes so that way, people can go and listen to you for sure because you're so inspiring. But if you were to think back now to all of your years of building a business while being a family man, what would you say would be the best piece of advice that you'd give to someone else who is a parent also building a business? Like if you could narrow it down to one thing and you could leave somebody with the most important thing that you've either ever learned or heard, what would it be?
Okay, that came to me. I know exactly what it is.
Okay.
You could have all the success in the world, but if your family is not intact because you put too much into your business, if your family's not there with you to celebrate that success, in the end, it wasn't really success.
Wow. Write that one down.
Yeah.
That's so true.
So make sure your family is a priority, involve them in everything that you do, make them a part of the goals and the dreams and a part of what you do, and make sure they come first because you could build a business where you're making $1 million a year. You live in your dream house, but if your spouse absolutely, you guys are separated because you never paid attention to them and they absolutely hate you now and you share time with your kids or whatever because of that, not because of some other thing, because you put that all into the business. Like that's not really success to have those things or that business if they're not there to celebrate that with you.
Yeah, so true. This has been so awesome. Thank you so much, Scottie, for your time. This has truly been such a gift. I really appreciate you being here today on the Do Life Big podcast. Where can people find you on Instagram, or do you have a special place,
Yeah.
website?
Yeah, you can go. My Instagram's just at Scottie Hobbs. I'm on Facebook, Scottie Hobbs, nothing too fancy. I have the Level Up Life podcast and I have a YouTube channel. Some positive comments would be nice there sometimes since I have all the haters making videos about me once in a while.
Here, we got to level those out.
Yeah,
Oh my
those are the
gosh.
main places: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
Awesome. I'll make sure it's in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for listening today, my friend. You know I love you. I think you're awesome. And I will see you the next time. Bye. Thanks so much for listening in. I really appreciate you choosing to spend your time here with me today. You totally rock. Hey, listen, if you loved today's episode, go ahead and tag me on social and go share this with a friend right now. Like, do it immediately before the day gets ahead of you and you totally forget. Couldn't be more pumped to be on this journey with you guys. Go make today awesome, and I will see you the next time.